We had our first teams qualifying through the grand finals in Group 1. We had Clix's team doing well. We had insane pop-offs from players like Donny, and the reaction was amazing. But we did have some big names miss out. We now have no Reet, no Pixie, no Vanya, no Marius. Huge names missing out on grand finals unless they can clutch up in last chance. We had Peterbot yet again winning the solo cash cup, but there was a fair bit of drama with cheaters both on EU and NA, so there's lots to talk about. Let's jump into it. All right, kicking off with NA, and again, in case you don't know the format, it's super simple. There is 5 games. If you win one of the 5 games, you go straight through to grands. If you get top 5 without a win, so top 10 on the overall leaderboard, you also go through to grands. There's 3 separate groups. They're going to take place on different days. So the 5 wins on NA, game 1 was picked up by Seek, G Money, and Aussie. They got a 9 elim win in game 1. Now, again, I've said this before, but in case you guys missed it, absolutely gassing up this trio. G Money and Aussie, recently known as controller players, have now very recently, pretty much this season, officially swapped to mouse and keyboard, and now they're already the first team into grand finals. That is super impressive. G Money has been playing tokens for a while on mouse and keyboard for a bit of fun. He's played a few cash cups here and there. Same with Osid, so I'm not going to try and say they literally hadn't touched the mouse and keyboard until 2 weeks ago, but officially swapping to a brand new import and being the first trio in grands is insane. Seek has been playing really well at the moment in solos. I think he's one of the more underrated solo players in NA, absolutely dominating. Now, Kicks, level 1 crook, and I love Tottenham. I know nothing about this trio whatsoever. I'm not even gonna try and pretend to know anything about this trio. This was a very underdog qualification. I'm excited to see how they go in finals. They got a game 2 win with an 8 elim win, so a very solid game out of them. Game 3, a team I know a little bit more about. We had Zeus, Creon, and Tony. This is a Hispanic trio. I've been gassing up Tony for quite a while now. I think he is an extremely underrated fighter. You see him go toe-to-toe box fights with some of the best players on NA and really hold his own. They got a 16 kill win to qualify. They managed to do this with one of the earliest high ground takes I've ever seen. I was watching the broadcast. I was actually questioning what they were going for. I thought they went for high way too early. There's no chance they win off that, and they did. They just held high ground the entire time and absolutely dominated. Now, game number 4. You probably see this going around social media, but in case you haven't, you're in for a treat. We had Donny, Mason, and Chance take game number 4 with a 10 elim win. Now, I've been gassing up Donny a lot over the last few weeks. He has just moved from being on 50-60 ping for pretty much since Central was added to now finally being on 0 ping. If you guys remember, Donny played alongside Clicks, I think in Hammer season, early chapter 4. Absolute insane talent. People started to realize how good this dude was. Comes out of the token scene, really good mechanics, but having great mechanics on 60 ping is tough. Now, finally on 0 ping, I was expecting a lot from Donny, but he even blew my expectations out of the water when he pulled off this 1v3 to qualify.
So 1v2, 1v3.
Nice, bro.
Nice, good finish.
Finish.
You want to left. Build. Nice.
Build.
Chill.
Don't move.
You win.
Oh my God. You're so good!
Go, bro.
An absolute insane clutch from Donny, and unfortunately the team that he took out there was a very underrated team. It was Magma, Skizzer, and Josh, who ended up not qualifying. I know they're going to be absolutely kicking themselves over not clutching up that 3v1 to qualify to grands. Sad to see for them, but super happy to see Donny showing up on the big stage. And then our last game was won again by a very underrated team, Power, Listen, and Polis. Now, I believe this team combined as an entire trio have less than $1,000 earned. Now, don't want you guys think that's suspicious. They're cheating. I've seen nothing to suggest the fact that they're cheating. Polis actually is an owner of the Org TS. He's actually the owner of Org Team Slate, which Aminish is signed to. Insane performance from this trio. Absolutely popped off and qualified in the last game with a 4 elim win. It was a nice standard early high tech. They played it well, nothing fancy, got the win, and now they're going to be going each into their first ever grand finals with less than 1k earned. Now, Group 1 on NA has gotten a lot of flack for being a very underrated group, and people saying it's the worst group. And now with some of these names, you might be led to believe that, but there were some really good teams and some really good teams who missed out as well. So it wasn't free and these guys just waltzed in because there was no one else to qualify. We have teams like Reet not qualifying out of this group. So let me run through the rest of the spots. Remember, next 5 highest placing teams who didn't get a win, we have Visuals, Braid, and Aminish. They played absolutely phenomenal. Now, you've probably seen Aminish popping off on the solo leaderboard. I need to clear up before I even talk about solos. There was a player called Aminish who won NA solos, but it wasn't a Minish and they were cheating. They were completely dialed up to 11, full rage hacking. They won the NA solo cash cup. They got disqualified. Pete ended up winning it, and that is not the real Aminished. In case you guys get confused, I need to make sure I clear up his name there, because I hate that Fortnite not only doesn't ban these cheaters mid-tournament, they don't ban them when they have another pro's name, so they can just ruin their reputation. Because now people are saying, oh yeah, Aminished was cheating during the solo cup. Like, yes, technically, but not the one you're thinking about. So Visuals, Brazen, and Aminished were the highest placing team who didn't get a win. They finished on 302 points, 7 elim 6th, 11 elim 3rd, 9 elim 4th, 5 elim 3rd. In their last game, they got really scrappy with Clix's team. They were kind of going at it because both teams already qualified, and they got a 3 elim 11th, but very, very solid performance. Then Clix, Batman, Booga, and Eomzo, a team that I did really think was going to win and qualify through off the win. They've won more games in victory formats than any other team. They've won 4 games of the last 8 of the Eval Cup finals when they needed a win. I thought they were going to walk through this lobby. They played really well though. 6 elim 4th, 7 elim 2nd, 10 elim 2nd. Then they got a 12 elim 13th when they were just full W king, and then a 4 kill 21st in the last game because again, they'd already qualified. They were just messing around. So really good to see how well they did. I think a lot of people, myself included, hoping and expecting a win, but I think their performance is really solid. One of the things I love the most about this trio, even when they'd already qualified, you could hear Clix talking on stream about how he was frustrated that he was dying and they hadn't won yet. Like, he wanted to win harder. They'd already qualified and he was still annoyed that they could have done even better while qualifying. And I love that passion out of this trio. So I'm very, very excited to see how they shape up for grands now. It's going to be a boring week or so now of Clix just sitting back, playing solo cash cups, waiting for, you know, grand finals to start. Now, if you qual out of Heat 1, you're waiting until grand starts, I think on like the 14th or 15th now. So you've got almost 2 weeks now of not really playing any major trio tournaments except for the Eval Cups. But that's pretty much the situation everyone's in if they qual out of Div 1. We then have Death, Sales, and Encrypted. So we have, again, another controller player making it to the NA finals. I'm gassing up the controller players because right now it is rough out there. We have not seen many controller players qualify for EU or NA grands just yet, but Death, Sales, and Encrypted doing it very well. Then we had Shadow, Curve, and Tyler, another team with a controller player. Very, very happy for them. I thought Shadow, Curve, and Tyler would have won a game as well. They did get a 5th, 4th, 8th, 7th, and then a 17th. So really, really consistent placement. And in the very last game, we got a 10 elim 2nd big clutch from none other than Cease. So Cease, Jack, and Blake just scraped by. They qualified for grands. If you saw it on low ground, if you guys were an OG Fortnite fan, I was calling it like Gangstar's Cease, like OG Cease, when he was the young mech demon who was running through lobbies being an idiot but just mowed everyone down. Now we have, you know, a lot older, more mature, more methodical Cease, but it was really cool to see him go back to his roots, dominate the low ground, and take that last spot, just edging out Asian Jeff, Aloe, and Carillion. We almost had Asian Jeff making grands. He missed out by 1 place by 10 points. Also, again, worth mentioning, Reet, Bryce, and Vert did not qualify through. We had some other big names as well. 20, Walkers, and Larson didn't make it through. Al, Pandy, and Pilot. I thought Pilot was locked in for a grand qualification, so really sad to see Pilot not get through there in Group 1. Again, with the format, these teams aren't done. Their FNCS isn't over. They still get to play in the last chance major. That's coming up in a little bit. Essentially, it is an opens lobby where anyone can play. Div 3, Div 2, and Div 1, anyone can play. The top 33 teams after 10 games or 3 hours goes into the finals. They play 3 set lobby games. You have to win 1 of those 3 games to make it to grand. So it's going to be really hard, especially when you think how bad the cheaters are going to be in that opens lobby because Div 3 players can play. It's going to be a bit of a nightmare, but for teams like Reet, there is still a chance, but it's looking pretty rough. Moving on over to EU, I will say EU Heat 1, I think, was a little bit more difficult than NA Heat 1 if I was just saying on a pure player standpoint. Winning the first game, we had none other than Gordetti, Joni, and Scary. Now, you might not have heard too much about this trio. They're a Spanish trio, but I talked about not getting too many control players to grands. This is a triple controller trio. I didn't even know there was a triple controller trio. I've watched this team before. I assumed at least one of them was on mouse and keyboard. To be a double controller trio right now in the current meta is insane, but 3 is unreal. And to do that, Gordetti's team basically has to W key everyone. If you ever watch this team in the finals, they are just running people down, and that's exactly what they did to qual game 1. They got a 13 elim win to take it home game 1. Game 2, pretty much to no one's surprise, one of the favorites in this heat. We had iDrop, Sky, and Scroll. They won the trial. They won the opens. They came into groups really strong. They got a 10 elim win. This means now if Refsguard's team makes grand finals, they will be contesting them at the field. Game 3 went to the Italians, Rax, Predage, and Radeon. They've been playing really well. They probably got, in my opinion, the most convincing win of almost any team in Group 1, EU and NA. They had high ground early. They held it the whole game. Predage was set up to go for a heal off. He had all the heals in the world. Radeon and Rax dropped down, fragged out. It didn't even go to heal off, and they got a 12 elim win to qualify. The 4th spot went to Cringe, Kate, and Mappy, who were already guaranteed to qual at that point. They managed to have a 2 elim 3rd, a 10 elim 2nd, a 4 elim 5th, and then they got the 9 elim win. So Cringe, Kate, and Mappy would have qualified off consistency. They just got the win for bragging rights. Pretty much similar situation for Shark, Zhu, and Ziandi. They started off slow. They had a 19th and a 28th, but they bounced back with a 6 elim 3rd and a 7 elim 5th before getting the 11th elim, the 11 elim win to take the 5th spot on EU. But again, we still have our consistency teams. To absolutely no one's surprise, probably the biggest name team in this heat, we had Trulex, Tayson, and Chicho taking the top consistency spot. They got a 6th, 11th, and then a 4th and a 2nd. So they were very close to going through on the win. They just couldn't pull it off. Then we had Pixovsky's team in 7th, the ex-console pro, Batacry, Pixovsky, and I think it's Ivanki. I'm probably pronouncing that terribly. I'm sorry. Then we had Robin, Axforce, and Fanayan, the Swedes, taking the 8th spot as well. They were just really consistent. Their best place was a top 5, so they weren't really close to getting that win, but they played very consistently. Then we had Robin, Trexa, and Hydro, the German team, taking the 2nd last spot. And then we had, I know nothing about this team, by the way, Uik, Dixie, and Unzen. I'm probably butchering that, but this team, again, I think combined earnings is about 2,000. So we've got two really underrated teams on EU and NA now straight through to grand finals. And there's some big names missing. If you were paying attention to the EU groups list, that means we have no Vanya, Pixie, and Marius. They struggled throughout most of the day due to Surge. We're used to seeing them be contested at Kappa Kappa Factory. It's a new POI. This is their first time I've seen them play a set lobby uncontested. And from looking at their issues, it looks like they're used to being contested. Surge was by far their biggest issue. They started to figure it out. Their last 2 games was a 2 elim 7th and then a 5 elim 2nd. They almost clutched up the win at the very end to take the last game to qualify through to grands. Really unfortunate to see they didn't. They're a phenomenal trio, but they're gonna have to leave it up to last chance. Then we had Hris, Teeny, and Skivvy, a trio that on paper, very solid. 3 really good players that haven't really gelled together so far this season. They formed late into the season. They haven't been looking too hot. They weren't really that strong at the playing stages either, so I think they were a bit disappointed coming into this, and they don't qualify. They might split up and find new trios. We'll have to see. Then we also had some other big names going down the list as well. We had Tropex, we had Marion, we had the Dutchies. We also had Nate. Again, this is FNCS winner, original French GOAT Nate, who was playing, who also sadly didn't qual out of this groups as well. I'm guessing what's going to happen now with teams is they're probably not going to try and form brand new teams right now. They're going to wait for group 2 and 3 to finish. They're going to wait to see which other really good teams don't qualify, and then we're going to see a snakening as teams try to form the best trio they possibly can to try to get one of those last 3 spots. I don't think we'll see too many brand new trios form at this point, because you may as well wait. If you have the caliber of, you know, Marius, you're going to wait for another really good team to underperform and then try to pick up someone on that team. That's just my guess. I'm guessing vibes are not great after missing out on grands through groups, and having to stick with the same team probably doesn't give a lot of confidence. We also had the Solo Cash Cup finals. This is the only time we're going to have the Solo Cash Cup and the groups on at the same time. All the other groups are their own tournament, last chance grands, they're all on their same day. I have no idea why Fortnite put 2 major tournaments on the same day, especially when there's no tournament tomorrow, but whatever. The players who were in group 1 obviously had to try and play both back to back. Peterbot, luckily enough, only had to play Solo Cash Cup finals, didn't have to worry about locking in for groups, and he very much locked in for solos, finishing in first on 371 points. Again, whether you love it or whether you hate it, people are just watching to see either Peterbot win, to see how hard he can keep pushing this, or to watch and see him finally lose and start to drop off, which so many people are hoping for right now. Victor V was one of those people hoping. The young demon, one of the youngest pros in the game right now, 2nd place, 363, played absolutely phenomenally. We had Vidil. I swear there is just, I don't think we've had a single NA Solo Cash Cup so far but we haven't had at least Cooper, Sphinx, or Vidil in the top 3, or at least 2 of them. It's actually insane how consistent that trio is at solos. Vidil came in 3rd overall on 359. Then we had Yomzo in 4th on 358. We had Chavi, 353. Realized Seal, I don't know too much about this player. Then we had Shadow, Cooper. Again, Cooper just had a 2nd, 1st, and now an 8th. He also did have only, I think, about 20 points, 45 minutes into this tournament. So bringing it back to get an 8th is insane. He finished off with a 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 2nd in his last 4 games, with 2 of those games being 10+ kill games. So Cooper really brought it back. Again, if you haven't, check out my React channel. We have a video breaking down how Cooper plays solos. If you want to get better and play like play like Cooper. Then we have Hari in 9th, a Polish pro. This is an EU professional player finishing in 9th in the finals of NA. Absolutely insane cross-region performance. Hari, Cami, and Seti have also been qualifying for like every single NA trio final, so they're just running up NA's leaderboards right now. They're taking the money, looking really, really good while doing it. And then to round out the top 10, we had Creon, the Hispanic team that I did just talk about, qualifying through groups. Seek was just outside of that. So again, shout out to Seek in 11th. It was a really fun NA solo finals to watch. Again, obviously groups took a lot of the attention. I will say as well, I talked about it in yesterday's video in case you guys missed it with the weird bug that Cooper got. Turns out Fortnite did actually go and combine his points from the opens. So my man ended up finishing on 496 points because he got a 34 and a 35 elim win because they reset his skill-based matchmaking. Still don't know how that happens, but technically Cooper also won opens. Now, moving on over to EU. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch EU because since they put on the same day as groups, they made it start at 11 p.m. my time. I can get up at 2 a.m. to watch tournaments, but starting at 11 is just, I'm sorry, that's where I draw the line. We had Nala XFN. I know nothing about this player. French player who won it all in 395 points. This is their first earnings ever. They've played 19 events. You can do with that information as you will. I am slightly suspicious, but the first place team that was cheating on NA has been removed from the leaderboards, but EU hasn't. So maybe he's legit. I don't know. I also heard a lot of people say that Avi, the German team that the players in 2nd, also is a little bit suspicious. Only has 66 events played, and this is mostly their first earnings as well. Not really too sure. We did then have Demus, who I know is a real player, in 3rd place, 357 points. Really, really solid performance. And then Panzer in 2nd. Unfortunately, Panzer was in 1st for pretty much the entire tournament. If those first 2 teams are cheating, missed out on winning by 2 points because he got stream sniped by a cheater in his last game and went down in 89th place. And again, I know it sucks dealing with cheaters. I know you guys always think, Aussie, how do you know they're cheating? It was the person's like 3rd tournament ever. I don't know how, like 3rd tournament they've actually placed high enough to show on Fortnite Tracker. So basically, they farmed out their 14 events by playing 1 game of the Rank Cups, got to finals, ruined Panzer's tournament, and now they've been banned and they have to start again. It's really, really annoying. The new system is a lot better. There are way less cheaters, but sadly, I have just talked about how there is a potential cheater in 1st and 2nd, and a cheater ruined Panzer's tournament. It sucks. It is getting better, but there is still going to be an element of that. So shout out Panzer. He did really, really well. Hopefully, this can gain a lot more respect for Panzer as a player for some of Mongol and Savage's audience. We talked recently about how Mongol and Savage have both expressed their community's negativity towards them as a team, but also his teammates. A lot of times, anytime someone struggles, it's drop Panzer. You guys didn't call because Panzer sucks. Drop Panzer. Panzer is clearly a phenomenal player and backing that up very much so this week in solos. So hopefully that gives him the confidence coming into groups. We also had Lucy finish off in 5th place, Wox, Cringe, Neuer, and then Trizon, I don't know too much about, and then Malibuka, then Nixoy, and Nokif. So again, a few underrated players around the top 10. I didn't watch EU to say that I was following these teams to see whether they were cheating or not. I really don't like to highlight cheaters, don't like to talk about cheaters, but when they're running up the top of the leaderboard, you kind of have to.